All right. All right. All right. Aloha Friday, everybody. Thank you for being with me today as we are going to be talking about faith, legacy of education, leadership, and entrepreneurship with my cousin, Jackie. I'm so happy about this. And folks, we are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Parade Deck. So hopefully you're seeing us on there. If you are, jump in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from. And as we're discussing, please ask some questions and we will be trying to answer those as they come up. But Jackie, oh my goodness.
I'm so blessed to see you. This is really special.
Oh, it's amazing. I was just telling her, and she's the second only family member I've had on Aloha Friday Live. The very first one was my daughter on the first Aloha Friday Live.
Beautiful.
So it is nice to have that today as we celebrate Aloha Friday, and I hope everyone is enjoying their time out there. Now, Jackie, before we get into all of the good comments there. Tell us a little bit about you, and without going into the subject matter, but and then we'll get right into it.
Okay, so hi, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate that that opportunity to be here with you, speaking with you. So my name is Jacqueline Bocachica-Velásquez, and I come from Puerto Rico, the Bronx, New York. I come from a family of love and faith, and I have two sons, Elias and Daniel. They are married, and I have three grandchildren. Have a blended family. My husband has three married kids and five grandkids. So together we do have quite the blended family. I absolutely appreciate how faith has impacted and influenced my journey, my belief in God, knowing that He is real, that He sustains me, that He gives me all that I have, and that I am blessed to be where I am today because of His grace. And so I'm an educator, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a grandmother now. They call me Wela. And so I am here to share part of that journey with you, and hopefully be able to influence or impact decisions that people are making around education and leadership.
Amen to that. Now, folks, you know that we have various speakers come every Friday, most Fridays, because there are some that we don't get a speaker, but our focus is on leadership. But I'm going to tell you, and as I echo Jackie's comment there, without faith, at least in my life, right? Now we have two people saying it. Without faith, not that leadership could not happen, because there are some secular leaders that do a good job in that role.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a level of compassion that leadership requires that you cannot get outside of faith. You may apply some of that, but true compassion was emulated so nicely by our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And it's something that we try to mirror in our day-to-day happenings in leadership. And if you are out there and don't have a faith, or that's something that is missing from your what we call toolbox, I highly encourage you to seek that out somehow. Talk to somebody. You can even DM me on LinkedIn, DM on LinkedIn, and we can introduce you to that part of leadership that is often missing. But faith without works is dead, right? So you have to do something about it. And in employing leadership, especially on the faith topic, Jackie, how has that benefited your leadership roles? Because one thing is to have it for you, and you're good, you feel nice and warm and cozy, and that's great. But you have to apply it to the role and tool of leadership in order for it to do something good.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that I am in a family that has valued faith in God for generations. And so my parents instilled that in us, the belief in God. God is real. There was never a question about that. I thank God that my mom, at one point, I was about 14, and she told my dad, I'll help, I'll continue to help raise this family, but we need God. And so we started to attend a church that really instilled in us the truth about the Word of God. And so I was very young back then, right? But then as I got into education and I got into leadership, your faith, your values, and what the things you hold sacred are challenged by many voices, right? The different perspectives on how you can get ahead and how you can prosper. And what I found was that the Word of God and my faith was what grounded me in making decisions. Although many options might have been available, there was always that voice in my heart and in my head that said, does this honor God? And does this move you to a place of purpose? Did I always honor that correctly? Did I always live that way? No. That's why I'm thankful for His grace also, that He gives us this opportunity to come back and do better. In leadership, always challenged, right? Because as you just stated, there's a lot of people that do the work of leadership without any sense of a higher authority in their life. And for me, God is so real and so true that my decision making was based on doing the right thing for the right reasons and valuing people and understanding that human being is somebody that I'm serving. In education, I was serving children. As an algebra teacher for so many years, I was serving families. As a principal of middle schools, I'm serving. And so this servant leadership, authority and service at the same time came together. And how does faith help me? Well, because I can actually pray about my decisions. Of course, the technical skills, so important to have technical skills, communication skills, strategic decision-making processes and protocols, team building, and having a clear mission and core values for your organization or for the work that you do is so important. Faith, I could never leave at the doorstep. Was I challenged? Absolutely. How many times was I maybe called out because my belief in God could get in the way of my work? And there's just no way. And I just recently came to realize and have peace with it that my faith and my work were always together, right? They're always part of who I am and have never really been separated. Have I sometimes had an imbalance of faith over work or profession over faith? Absolutely. I'm human. Nobody's perfect. And we all make those kinds of mistakes where we might veer off one way or the other. But when I find that balance and when I find that straight path in front of me, my faith actually is the engine that moves me forward. Trusting God that He has called me for a purpose and for such a time as this is really important to me. Knowing that I'm helping another person, that there can't be any type of imbalance in how I treat people, that if there isn't an equity, I can call it out confidently and know that we are to do right by everyone, calling out situations that are unethical or unprofessional, not just because they are unethical or unprofessional, but because they actually go against my spirit. So the faith that I've carried and I carry to this day, and hopefully will continue to share with others, has sustained me and has propelled me through every level of my leadership journey. And there's just no way, as I said before, to split the two. Um, Leading with kindness, leading with your heart, leading with other people's needs in mind. That comes from a place of loving my neighbor and loving them as myself.
Yeah, and that's powerful. As you're talking, I'm thinking about the legacy of faith that we have in the family.
Yes.
Now, not everybody subscribes to a daily living, right? I have plenty of family members that don't subscribe to that, but faith has always been integral. The legacy of faith as well adds to how well, and you mentioned, hey, we have to do something. in order for this to work, right? Faith had to be ingested in order for it to work. Now we see generations, not only your generation, but now your children and your children's children. And it's that sort of legacy
Mhm.
that I really uh, love to see. Now, my brother passed December 16th, and I remember at the service where we were talking, I, through that period, saw the very powerful example of love and and faith legacy in my sister-in-law's family. And in the service, I told them that there has only been a one family that I have witnessed such a thing, and it was the Bocachicas. Right, I grew up uh, in a very a single family, single mother home, very
Mhm.
disruptive, and that legacy I was able to witness and appreciate throughout my lifetime, and to the point where I only found another family so long ago, for separated from the time that I got to meet
Mhm.
you all, and so that legacy is important because it speaks volumes
Absolutely.
through time.
Hmm. And I just love that there's a testimony here of how our faith has actually influenced other folks. I mean, I remember you as, a member of a Sunday school class that I taught, and to be here interviewed by you is just, it's a confirming testimony that what we've done in this life for others is valued. And I just thank God. I thank God for my dad who had this sense of bringing us up, and my mom who had this sense of instilling in us the habit of faith, right? Because it is a lifestyle and it is something that you incorporate into your everyday. And there have been imbalances along the way of how far you can take your faith, or what's the do's and don'ts, and all of those things. But at the core of it is we love God, He loves us, we love one another, and we serve each other, and we do our best to fulfill His purpose. But our family as a whole, like right now, I can tell you, I have a group of cousins that are on a group chat, and on a daily basis, we're just thanking God. My father's three sisters, they sang in church, they had this faith based approach to life that was just impenetrable. Like you could just not get away from it. On any given moment, they'll break out into a hymn or a song, and you know that this is just a part of your culture, your family, and my brothers are all, you know, um, in the faith. Our kids are all wrapped in and around ministry, and we hope that our grandkids will be as well. So this is just who we are. And then the leadership part of it comes out in knowing that we have been called to do certain things and to carry out our purpose, and that purpose just continues to propel us to different levels of influence and impact. And what is leadership, right? Leadership, you're not a leader unless there are followers. So if you're not thinking about people around you as people that you can impact for the better of their own life, but also for the community around you, then you're not going to have followers. So you can't be a leader on your own. This can't be a selfish thing. It has to be a servant approach. And I know there are other concepts and other theories about leadership and how it can be carried out, but for me, it's just something that I cannot separate. And so the leadership in our family has been very strong. And you're right, it's not a common thread across many, many families, but we do know that there are families that take this very seriously, and that leading your children in the path that they should go, whether it's in education, professional creativity, and uniqueness, and just contributing to the world around them, it comes from a place of knowing and having confidence that they have a purpose. And so it's all intertwined. And I appreciate that you call out our family as that, because I know that my dad, who's been gone for 20 years now, but never gone from my
Oh
head or
yeah.
my heart, his voice is loud and clear, tú vas a lograr, tú vas a tener éxito. He had
Yeah.
that constant influence in us. So his leadership style was very different and very humorous and very funny, but he took us to the next level all the time.
Yeah, definitely a figure in my life as an example. But I tell you, folks, Let me throw just an interesting note here. I don't know how many of y'all have ever served the duty of a train bearer, but I don't even know if that's a thing, but
No,
they made it a thing.
but you did it well. You did it well. You didn't let my dress get dirty. You just carried it all
Well,
day
I
long.
tell you, it goes to show that hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
That's
As
right.
long as you
Serving
did it
leadership.
well. I've never put that on my resume, but I might consider now.
It's hilarious.
But
Yeah, I mean,
so
and those are good connections, right? And the fact that we can stay in each other's lives for a long time, it gives you a sense also of validation, of relationship building,
right,
and confirms that the love that you have for each other, the trust, and that unique and authentic connection is still there. That
yeah,
we don't have to talk every day, but when we do, it's like we just spoke yesterday. So I
yeah, it
appreciate that about.
definitely feels that way. And so there's a thing, and I'll end the faith piece right here, although that's long lasting for us.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
um, God was very clear to me, and during this last month or so, when my brother passed, and he was very clear to me. He says, "Hey, I made you for relationship, right? Relationship with Him, relationship with others, right? And when we look at a biblical scripture where Jesus said, I could sum these things up into real quick. Let me tell you what the law is about: your relationship with God and your relationship with your fellow man, right? So I'll leave that there. Relationship is key to everything we do, but especially in faith. Now, there's a legacy of education in your family that's interesting because I didn't even know some of the specifics, but share some of that
Yeah,
because that is foundational
sure.
to what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Education has been in our family a very important thing. And of course, going back to my dad's time, he and his brother were, they had three sisters, and my father and his brother, my uncle, um, they worked. They went to school, but they also had to work to help the family. But the three sisters were really encouraged to go to school and to continue their education. They became three educators, three sisters. I'm talking about in the 50s, in Ponce, Puerto Rico, teachers that became administrators and then even political leaders in their town. My grandmother was not an educator in the formal sense of the word, but she was a seamstress. But in recent years, where we've been really uncovering details about our family, my grandmother would distribute these fancy dresses that she made to women that were in high level political positions in Ponce. And as she distributed these, and I remember my father telling me these stories, she would actually educate women on civic leadership. So there was a level of I need to teach, to mentor, to coach. So education was always somehow, it was in our blood. I guess they put it in our café con leche or something because there was this sense that you needed to have an education. And some was formal, some was informal, and there are various paths now, right? But this going to school, going to college, getting higher academic degrees was always encouraged. And one of my aunts, who is Doctora Fiolina Bocachica Mills, who lives in Florida actually, she was the first woman in my family that I knew had a doctoral degree or was a candidate for a doctoral degree. Now, mind you, back then I didn't know what that was per se, but in our family, this doctoral degree was a huge thing. And we would visit her at the University of Pittsburgh as she was doing her work. And she went on to have a high position in um, the Library of Media Sciences at the Virgin Islands. And I aspired to do that work as well. Every single one of us was always encouraged to go to school to pursue some type of degree in college in a formal way. And this inspired us in ways that there was like no excuse. Like everybody was going to go to college, everybody was going to get a degree. My dad used to constantly push us to the next level. I remember when I was a teacher, he would say I was a supervisor. When I was a supervisor, he said I was the chancellor. When I was chancellor, when I was at the chancellor's office, he would tell people that I was like directing the whole world of education. It wasn't, it was just his way of encouraging me that there was always more. And this legacy of education comes from just knowing that in order to make an impact and influence and to reach higher levels, you need to have formal training. You need to have a different perspective on the world around you. Education offers you the opportunity to explore so many different content areas and to really decide which one aligns best with your own unique talents and skills. And when you find that place of connection between what you are passionate about and then what you're learning just takes you to that next level, it just opens up more and more doors for you to walk through. My my mom's a retired bilingual kindergarten teacher. She lives in Florida as well. And she comes from a family where education was not necessarily pursued by everyone, but she had this unique approach to her own path. And she accomplished quite a bit coming from Puerto Rico after graduating from high school and being able to pursue bachelor's and master's degrees and fulfilling a career in education in the New York City public schools. She encouraged me to be a teacher. She encouraged me from day one that I entered a college. She said, "You're going to be a teacher." And I said, "No, I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm going to have an office and we're going to have patients coming in and out." That didn't happen. I became a teacher and I became a math teacher, an algebra teacher for over 15, 16 years in middle school. And that later led to me being an assistant principal and then a coordinator of bilingual educational services at the district level, and then a principal of a very troubled middle school. And I just saw myself carrying out what in our family was known as the purpose of education. So that legacy is really, really interesting. And it still carries on today now with our kids and our grandkids that are coming up.
And there's some people that, especially nowadays, I have seen education wane a little in terms of desire by youth because of technology. And I'll tell you right there, it's a technology is allowing things to kind of like leapfrog. And sometimes the dangers of technology is that the one that came out today is already old, right? So there's this chasing of a dream of, I would say, just being wealthy. There's right. We didn't have that back then, but being wealthy for us was you got in a job and you did 20 years and you got a pension, right? Not now. Now you could throw a video out there, you become an instant sensation, you make a little bit of money, and then you'll say, why do I need that? Now,
Right.
I'll tell everybody, education may not be like formal education, may not be the route that you need to take. There's some smart people, life smart, they have acquired knowledge through reading books and conversations and this, that, and the other. So, it's not a sell on formal education, but
Right.
there is a variety of educations that you must explore. You can't negate one over the other, but my advice is just explore the
Right.
education of expanding your knowledge for whatever means that may look like. Formal education is not for everybody, but don't discredit it
Right.
because you see somebody making $1 million in overnight for some video that they got. Now, um, the legacy of education and family is important, and I know in leadership it's critical. It's critical that you be informed. It's critical that you be educated, especially when you're talking about thought leadership, especially when you're talking about a group of individuals that now you must lead. So let's bring the education piece to leadership, because you also fulfilled some leader roles within academia. And so let's talk about that.
Yeah. So just on that formal versus informal, You know, education is education. I think when we start to categorize it and tease it apart is where we get stuck, and the argument becomes more about the language that we're using to describe something. But the pandemic, as well as the increase in technology and overnight successes, quote unquote, that we see on social media, have truly confused a lot of people about how to get to that next level. And so, if people think that they want to pursue a path of, let's say, technology, guru, then there needs to be some education, whether you're getting your education from an online program or a mentor or coach that's an expert in your field. That's still education. The goal is to get the skills and the training in a formal way, in a way that has sustainable and lasting impact. Many people can compare. I went to Fordham University for my doctorate. Why? Because it was a goal of mine. I wanted to go to Fordham University for my doctoral degree. And many people, even in my field of education, said, but why are you getting a doctorate? You don't need a doctorate right now. You are already working at the chancellor's level. I was the executive director for the Office of School Quality, which evaluated all of the schools, all 1,800 schools in New York City. My team was responsible for that work. And it was one of the best teams we ever had, or that I was ever a part to be a part of, but also to lead. We did some incredible work giving feedback to school principals about how to improve the environment for the students that they were serving and the communities that they were in. And so many people are like, so you've already reached this level. What would you do with a doctorate? I knew that in order to teach at the university level, I needed to have a doctoral degree. And so by pursuing that doctoral degree in a high level educational institution, I was able to then turn around as I retired 7 years ago, and go to teach at Fordham University with a doctoral degree from that same institution. That doesn't happen to everyone. It's not necessarily what everybody wants to do, or finds attractive. But whatever your goal is has to match whatever your passion is. Whatever your passion is has to match your skill level. And if your skill level is not where it needs to be in order for you to be successful and really sustain your own life with it and possibly sustain a family and leave a legacy for others, then you need to get the training, the skills, the perspectives on all of the work that surrounds whatever that field is, from a place that is accredited or from a place that is valued by the community in your profession. And you can't just do that by yourself in a room with a computer. There's a lot that can come through the computer to train you, but if you're not engaged with others and if you're not listening to other perspectives and other possibilities, you're limiting yourself. That's my take on formal versus formal. Were there courses that I took in college that I've never used? Listen, I have students that were my algebra students that are still looking for X. Like they tell me, we're still looking for X. We've never used those formulas. But it gave them a way to think about solving problems that they do appreciate. And I'm sure that they utilize and maybe don't necessarily attribute it to my teaching them algebra. So there is always something that can help you learn, help you grow, help you to engage in more opportunities than you probably have if you don't go the route of a wider encompassing education.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're talking about, sometimes it's just a course. Sometimes it's YouTube University, right? The other day, I had to fix the car. And I said, well, it's either pay tens of thousands of dollars for this Mercedes to get fixed, or I could go to YouTube University, get in there and see the last mechanic that made a video and try to mimic that. Well, guess what? $150 for a part, several hours, or maybe several days of investment, and it was done. And it was done, right? But the thing is this, and I love how you brought up the requirement of so you have the goal, but do you have the skill? Because if you don't have the skill, you are never going to go towards the goal. That skill piece is where a lot of leaders are missing the mark. Even within just your relationship with a a follower, a worker, if you do not have the skill to motivate this individual and inspire them to do the work and see it something valuable for them, you're missing a skill that you have to get. And so a lot of folks just give it to chance. We'll work it out. Well, guess what? Sometimes they'll work it out and you never get to work out.
Right. And I think that that's such an important point. You know, I was a principal for 11 years of 3 different school settings. One was a very difficult scenario because it was in a very troubled neighborhood with a lot of factors that were influencing how students even arrived at school. It was 1,000 middle school students, almost 90 staff members. And just to know that I was responsible for whatever happened in that building every day was high levels of stress. And I tell you, the highest level of stress was going through 9/11 at that school. And I had a mentor, which is something that I want to talk about also. Like you need mentors in your life. You need people that have done this work, have failed, have fallen, have gotten back up to tell you how they got through it so that your confidence level is a little bit higher than maybe theirs was when they faced it for the first time. So trusting that people in your field have some knowledge to share and are interested in making you a better leader because they maybe didn't have the mentoring that they can offer. I had a great mentor, Jerry, who used to sit with me in my office almost on a daily basis. We became just really good colleagues. And even after his mentoring stint was done, he would still keep coming back. And on the day that 9/11 affected New York City, I was sitting in my principal's office and long big table talking with my mentor. And one of my assistants came in and said, a plane just hit one of the towers. And I just didn't know how to react to that except to say, come on, you're kidding me. Like she was always joking. So I thought maybe this was but this was not possibly a joke. And then she came back in and said, another plane. And so we didn't have access to technology the way we do now. There was not an easy access to the news really quickly, although there was a little TV in the office. And so, but I remember this, my mentor, who had gone through crisis as a school principal prior to that in his school, different types of crisis, nothing like what we were about to face, he leaned into me and I thought was going to say, don't worry, we're going to put this plan together. We're going to make sure that everybody knows No, he said, Jackie, what school do your kids go to? And I thought that was such a strange question after receiving information that we're being, attacked or that something is happening. I mean, people were starting to scream in the hallways already. I said, what? He said, what school do your kids go to? And I said, they go to the school. I gave him the name of the school. And he said, I'll be right back. And he left. And then he said, but he sent someone in. He sent another administrator that happened to be in the building from the district office into me. So that person came in and then we started to put together an evacuation plan if necessary, or how kids were going to be picked up because parents were calling to pick up their kids. Short time later, Jerry walks in with my sons, Eli and Daniel. And he said, now you can help others. He knew that at the core of who I was, the title was principal, the role was leadership, the responsibility was overwhelming. But at the core of who I am a mother. And he knew that if my two were not safe in my head and in my heart and physically, there was no way I could help others. And to me, that's a skill that you develop having gone through other crises. And later on, we talked about it. And he told me about some of the things he encompassed and he encountered in his school and how he got through them. And he said, I just knew, just knowing who you are. And those are the kinds of things you don't learn, like you were saying on YouTube. You don't learn these things from just being alone with a technical skill. You have to engage with others. And in doing that, you become more aware of what other people need when they go through crises.
Yeah, there's no amount of education. That's a lived skill, right? That you have to gain that through life. But and I'll tell you right now, shame on you as a leader if you can't employ that. That your people need that.
Yeah.
They need you to know them so well
Yeah.
that you will know what is going to be a block for them and help them with that. That was amazing, right? And I don't think that even I have thought of something that specific to a mentee during a time of challenge
Hmm.
where I could say, if this one don't have this is not going to go well. And so what an amazing testament to him being a true mentor,
Yeah.
someone that would even go. And at that time, it wasn't safe to even go out,
Exactly.
right? And but he knew what he was doing, and he
Hmm.
did it effectively and efficiently. Got you what you needed because the rest of the people needed that. And I don't know how many of you out there listening right now have a mentor. I have 5 that I go to if I need to. I don't often have to reach, but when I do, I know they will be there. And not only because they've assured me, but they've proven that throughout my lifetime as a leader that I could reach out to them and
Yeah.
get what I need at that time. And even sometimes they'll reach out to me because maybe they may have seen something and say, "Hey, have you considered this?" Right? And so, what a wonderful thing to have. I encourage all listeners to have at least, even if you just have one, that's a great one, and you always have. But add to that because life will bring different degrees of mentorship needs, and those mentors may not be right for that time, and
Right.
so you have to have a variety. How have you implemented that throughout the course of your leadership?
So I've had mentors for different things, right? I'll tell you right now, like one of my best mentors is my mother. She never gives me the wrong answer. Sometimes it might be the most bold or raw one because she has that confidence that I'm going to listen to her. So I can go to her with almost any situation, whether it's work related, family related, personal, and she'll say, "Well, you have to pray about it." Of course, that comes out, but she'll give me some really good feedback about maybe how I'm looking at something. I also have mentors in ministry, people that I look up to and have done the work of ministry. Who are prayer warriors, and they vary in age. I can go to somebody who's younger than I am, and they could still be my mentor. Um, I've always looked for, I have several mentors that are still in my life from my educational career. And now we actually have a virtual monthly prayer chat and devotional with retired educators that are all women of faith. And several of them on that chat, and we're not retired, we say we are rewired. They actually um, come together, and as a group, they have served almost as a mentor for me. So individually I can go to each of them for a particular skill or for a particular area of need, as you said. So it's not just one person, it's knowing who to go to for a particular situation that I might be facing. I have one mentor who, she just pours into me almost daily, will call me to check on me, and to not checking on me because something is wrong. Just, hey, how's it going? And, let's just chat. And whenever something comes up, I can count on it that she will give me feedback and guidance that is filled with love, filled with trust and confidence that what she's sharing with me is going to benefit me, and then that I also trust her word. So I think those are really important. And so for each area of my life, I can see how I've had different people pouring into me from their experience. But one of the things that makes them my mentor, or that I can consider them as a mentor, is that they care about my well-being. It's not just about, hey, I'm your mentor because I know more than you and I've been around and I have this experience that I'm just going to share with you. No, it's about because I care that you do this well and I care that you do it successfully. As a network leader, at one point, I was a network leader for 5 years. I supervised 15 elementary schools in the Bronx, all in one of the poorest congressional districts in the States. And each principal had such a different context of leadership. But I was their coach, their mentor, their leader. They would call me for everything, whether it was operational, family related, individual student related, teacher, observation and evaluation related. And I needed to, like, the guy at the circus, like switch hats with every phone call. But I also knew that they trusted that whatever I was going to share with them was going to be ethically correct. It was going to be professional. It was going to be communicated in a way that showed that we cared about the situation and scenario, and that it was going to establish a process or a protocol that they could use later. Because if I just give them a one-shot answer for today and for this issue, then the next time they have that issue, then it's going to be another phone call. So I also have tried to establish that when I communicate support or help to somebody that I'm coaching or mentoring, that what I'm sharing, even though it's in the context of this one thing that we're talking about, you can actually apply it later. You can modify it to your own personality. You can modify it to the way you speak, because you're not me and I'm not you, but I can give you that guidance and you can try to incorporate it into the way you work with others, into the way you navigate your email communication so that the message is received in the tone that you're expressing it. So mentoring and coaching it's a two-way, right? I need to be mentored and coached so that I can mentor and coach, and then help others understand that I'm not the only voice in your head, that there are other people around you, and you have to sometimes just take a look around and see where you can gather strength from and who's really holding up your arms as you try to make decisions for your everyday.
Absolutely. Now, the true key and power of mentorship is not that you use your key for their situation, is that can you help them create a key to help them through their
Right.
situation, and then possibly, like you mentioned, perpetual, something that will be something that they can pass on and
Mhm.
and move from there. Wonderful discussion around faith, legacy of education, leadership. Now, all these things boil down to the fact that we have to retire at some time and find a different job or different purpose in life. For some, it's, you find another organization that you hop into.
Mhm.
For a lot, it's entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Now, entrepreneurship, folks that listen to Aloha Friday Live, I have a lot of entrepreneurs come through the show because I love to share what they're doing. Now, all of that experience has got you to
Mhm.
this point where now you have your own business doing similar work, but more now for you.
Mhm.
So tell us about your company and what you're doing there.
Awesome. First of all, the word retired, we've recoined it. We've coined it differently. I have a group of retired friends, and so we are no longer retired. We are considered rewired for such a time as this. And the reason we say that is because when you think of the word retired, you probably think of somebody putting up their feet on the edge of a porch somewhere, drinking iced tea and looking at the leaves, you know, flow in the wind. But that's not the case. I retired and I went from the last day at the New York City Department of Ed to teaching at Fordham University. That's where my mentoring and coaching really started, because I taught for 5 years in the master's and doctoral program there for school leadership, basically using my 30 plus years of educational experience in the Department of Ed to teach at Fordham University. While I was there, um, people would constantly come up to me and say, can you coach me? Can you mentor me? Can you coach me? Can you mentor me? And I was doing it as part of my job, as part of my everyday work, as a supervisor, as a leader. And then I don't remember exactly who said, oh, you should just make it an LLC. It might have been my son, actually, because he was doing something similar with a business model that he had already created. And so I registered under JBG Leadership, an LLC for coaching and leadership development. And I pretty much let it sit for a while. I kept thinking about it, thinking about how it would unfold. The pandemic hit. I didn't do much with that, although I was starting to do some work in the women's ministry at the church and developing those ideas. And so last January, sitting in my living room with my daughter-in-law, Victoria, we just started talking about what was next. And she actually helped me to kind of bring out the conversation again around my leadership development mentoring. I also had, and I still have, and it's something as a goal, so I'm just going to say it out and then be held accountable for it, because my other daughter-in-law, and I have great daughters-in-law, by the way, Justine had told me about writing a book and how I should capture some of my life experiences in a publication. And so I'm working on that as well. But the leadership development business started as coaching. We developed the website to promote what is it that I could possibly offer, right? So I started with my passion, which is leadership development, my skill set, which is management and leadership, and navigating different scenarios in leadership, from working with teams, developing teams, communication strategy, strategic decision making, just relationship building in an organization, and came up with ideas for how to coach individuals, how to coach small teams, how to give workshops or training, and things that I've already done, right? So I didn't have to go back and learn these things. I was just looking at them through a different lens. But then there was something really important to me, which was the ministry arm of leadership development, because in developing leadership, I've also worked with a lot of women in ministry, and I've done a lot of women's ministry work throughout the last couple of decades. And so my leadership development, JBG Leadership Development website encompasses all of that: individual, small group, and ministry. And it's been effective for, since last January. I've taken on several clients, not all educators. Some of them work in different aspects of education, and some of my clients are individuals who have decided that they need to work on their personal leadership development. Some are moms that want to become more organized and more influential in the work that they do in their homes and in their community. So it's not just people looking to get a higher position in leadership, it's people that are interested in developing their leadership skills, period. Mostly women at this point, and fine with me. I'm okay with that. I think that has confirmed for me a purpose and a specific audience. And in ministry, I've been invited to speak at various conferences and retreats. Also, women's groups have invited me for that. And I've also collaborated with my husband on an educational conference for Sunday school leaders and ministers. So it encompasses quite a bit, the work that I do, and how I get to the point of whether or not I'm a right match for the person is by meeting with them, right? Doing a discovery call and finding out what they're working on, what they're trying to accomplish, and being very honest about whether or not I think I'm the person that can help you with your goals. I offer a variety of ways to do that. It's virtual, except of course the retreats and things that I do are on site, on location, depending on where they are and my availability. I've been able to travel to different locations to do those presentations. But being rewired for such a time as this, although jbgleadership.com has started to grow and started to take shape in different ways, my most important role right now, and I won't compromise on it, is being abuela, grandma. I have 3 beautiful grandkids, and I'm just so blessed that my sons and my daughters-in-law give me this opportunity to pour into them and help in influencing their young lives. They are a blessing to me, and I'm able to do that. So my rewired life has quite a variety of spaces and places. I also I'm grateful and blessed, that I have a very supportive husband, and he has been able to contribute also to helping me establish ways of getting all of these things done. So the encouragement that I get from my kids, my family around me, and people that I'm working with has really propelled me to see that, yeah, for such a time as this, like this purpose that I feel strongly about is being carried out in ways that I never envisioned, right? I never saw it exactly the way that I'm doing it, but it's happening because I'm making myself available for that opportunity to come my way. And when I speak to people that I do coach or mentor, and they say, "Oh, let me write that down," or what you just said just really resonated with me. I know that I'm doing things with a purpose and that others are receiving it in a way that's benefiting them. I think I lead with my heart. Um, that doesn't always work, by the way, for me because I'm very emotional sometimes, but I guess I shouldn't say that. It does work for me because it's who I am. But when I say I lead with my heart, I really care about the people that I'm working with. And that's at the core of my values for the work that I do. I have to care about it. It has to be meaningful. Although it may be a business that could grow and benefit me in a lot of other ways, if it's not valuable and if I can't hold it sacred, like between myself and the people that I'm helping, then I'm not going to do it well because it's just not how I work as a person. So I put everything, I submit everything to the Lord in prayer, and I say that very honestly every single day. Lord, use me according to your perfect will. Let me be graceful when I approach others about the things that I want to share, and help me to see others in the way that you see them. And that's JBG leadership.
All right. So if we have leaders listening, looking for, or educators listening, looking for that type of
Mentoring.
coaching, mentorship, speaking, webinars, what have you, how would they find that, and how would they get a hold of you?
JBGleadership.com is the website, JBGleadershipdevelopment.com. And on that, there's a description of all of the work, and there's a contact form for anyone who wants to meet with me virtually to discuss whether or not I would be a good match for their coaching needs.
All right, folks. So I threw that into the comment section. It's also part of the video. If you're watching, it'll be on there. But Jackie, it has been such a pleasure to have you on discussing faith, legacy of education, leadership, and your new entrepreneur venture. Folks, I tell you that every guest that we have on has a value to them. This is my family now. Y'all watch out. but 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 it's so good to see the legacy of life that you have built for your own family, and I'm so proud of what you're doing, folks. This is the end of Aloha Friday Live. What I want to do is make sure that you know that we're still on the hunt for 600 on DTLW Podcast. If you go to YouTube at DTLW Podcast, you'll be able to subscribe there. I believe I'm around 28, maybe shy, so we can get there. What happens then is that I actually select one of the subscribers for a signed an author signed book, leadership book, that we would love to put in somebody's hand. So you help us, we'll make sure you get educated and hone those skills that you need to become an effective leader. We're also streaming, and I mentioned this earlier, on Parade Deck. So what Parade Deck is a community of military spouse, military affiliated creators, and Parade Deck has provided a platform for us to also stream our content on there. And more importantly, we're getting on Apple TV through them. And so thank you for that, Parade Deck, and all that you do. But today has been about Jackie Bocachica-Velásquez, doctor in the house.
Yes.
And so proud of you. Everybody, Aloha Friday. Be good. Have a safe weekend. We'd love to see you next week.
Thank you.
Mahalo and aloha.
Bye.